Hello students. In the last session, you have learnt about the concept of electric charge, conductors, insulators, and the process of electrification and methods of electrification like friction method, conduction method, and induction method. And also you have learnt regarding the basic and general properties of electric charges. See, in this session, we are going to discuss about the interaction between the charges. That means, according to Professor Dufay, like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other. The force of attraction or repulsion can be measured by an instrument called torsion balance. See, a French physicist by name Charles Augustin de Coulomb, after retired from his military service, he went to research field and designed an instrument which is used to measure the force between the charges. That instrument called the torsion balance. Later, Cavendish used the same instrument to measure the gravitational constant that we have studied in the first PUC gravitation chapter. See here, now we'll state the Coulomb's law. See, according to Coulomb's law, the force of attraction or repulsion between any two stationary point charges is directly proportional to product of their magnitude of charges and is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Just concentrate on the statement. He said that the force of attraction or repulsion between any two stationary point charges. That means we can apply this law only for stationary charges and is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. To explain this law, let us consider 2 point charges. See, observe this diagram. Here we have taken 2 negative charges, 2 positive charges, and 1 positive and negative charge. That means to demonstrate the concept of repulsive and attractive force. If we take like charges, the force will be a repulsive force. If we take unlike charges, the force will be an attractive force. So to explain the Coulomb's law, let us consider 2 point charges, whether it may be a positive or negative, whatever may be the nature of the charge. These two are separated by a distance r in free space. What is this free space? We can take air or a vacuum as a free space. So according to this Coulomb's law, the force of attraction or repulsion depends on the product of the magnitude of charges. That means F is proportional to Q1 and Q2 and F is proportional to 1 by R square. If we combine these two concepts, we'll get F is proportional to Q1 Q2 divided by R square. In physics, if we remove the proportionality, we have to introduce some constant, and that constant is called the proportionality constant. So that the equation becomes F is equal to K Q1 Q2 divided by R square, where K is called the proportionality constant. That proportionality constant which depends on the nature of the medium and system of units used. For our convenience, if we take the free space and in SI system, the value of K is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. The value will be equal to 9 into 10 to the power of 9 Newton meter square Coulomb inverse square. So if we substitute the value of K in that expression, we'll get F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. So this equation is for a free space. If we consider the same charges which are separated by the same distance in a other medium, then the equation becomes F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 by R square. Where in the last expression we have taken epsilon naught. Epsilon naught is called the permittivity of a free space and it's a constant value. The value is given by 8.854 into 10 to the power of minus 12 farad per meter or Coulomb square meter square Newton inverse. Then we must know what is the meaning of this permittivity of free space. It is the ability of a medium to allow the electric field to pass through it. So that is called the permittivity of free space, and the epsilon is called the absolute permittivity, and epsilon r, another term will be there, that is called epsilon r, and it is called relative permittivity or dielectric constant. I hope you have understood the concept of Coulomb's law. Once again, I'll repeat the statement. According to Coulomb's law, the force of attraction or repulsion between any two stationary point charges is directly proportional to product of their magnitude of charges and is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Okay. See, using Coulomb's law, we can define the unit of charge. So in our syllabus, they may ask 1 mark question, define 1 coulomb or define SI unit of charge. To define that SI unit of charge, let us consider a equation F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. In this expression, if we take Q1 and Q2 is equal to 1 coulomb and R is equal to 1 meter in free space, then the value of F becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, which is equal to 9 into 10 to the power of 9 Newton. So that if we apply all these conditions to this expression, we'll get the value of Q1 and Q2, and that is called 1 coulomb. That is, 1 coulomb is that charge which, when placed from an identical charge at a distance of 1 meter in free space, experiences a repulsive force of 9 to 10 to the power of 9 Newton. Once again, I'll repeat. 1 coulomb is that charge which, when placed from an identical charge at a distance of 1 meter in free space, experiences a repulsive force of 9 into 10 to the power of 9 Newton. So this is the SI unit of electric charge. So next, come to the direction of the force. See, observe this diagram. We have taken the 3 conditions. That means 2 negative charges, 2 positive charges, and 1 positive and then negative charge. Observe the first diagram. Here, these two are like charges. As we know that, according to Professor Dufay, like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other. This Q1 exerts a force on Q2 which is repelling. Therefore, F12 is the force exerted by Q1 on Q2. According to Newton's third law of motion, we know that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. This charge exerts the same force, but it is in the opposite direction. Therefore, F21 be the force exerted by Q2 on Q1. Similarly, in this case also, so these two are positive charges, they repel each other. Therefore, F12 is the force exerted by Q1 on Q2, and F21 be the force exerted by Q2 on Q1. Observe that the third case. In this case, we have taken a positive and then negative charge. Here, we come across the attractive force. So that F12 be the force exerted by Q1 on Q2 towards the charge. Here, in these two cases, it is away from the charge. In this case, it is towards the charge. So this is the direction of the electric force. Okay. Then, next, what are the limitations of this Coulomb's law? The first limitation is Coulomb's law cannot be applied for moving charges. That means it can be applied only for the stationary point charges, as we mentioned in the statement itself. So Coulomb's law holds good only for stationary charges. Then second one, Coulomb's law is not a universal law as it depends on the intervening medium. So as we know that in physics we have 3 inverse square laws, that is Newton's law of gravitation, Coulomb's law, and then Biot-Savart's law. In all these 3 cases, those equations are called inverse square laws. Among them, the gravitational law, that means Newton's law of gravitation, is also called as universal law of gravitation because it holds good for any circumstances. Whereas these 2 cases, that is Coulomb's law and then Biot-Savart's law, the force between the particles will always depends on the intervening medium. Hence, Coulomb's law is not a universal law as it depends on the... See, next concept is vector form of Coulomb's law. See, as we know that in the last concept, we know the concept of Coulomb's law. Here, we are determining the vector form of Coulomb's law. See, to explain this one, let us consider 2 point charges, Q1 and Q2, which are separated by a distance r in free space. See, this Q1 exerts a force on Q2 and that is given by F12. Let A cap be the unit vector along F12. And we know that according to Coulomb's law, F is given by the equation F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R square into A cap. So this is the vector form of Coulomb's law. Similarly, reaction to that, this charge Q2 exerts a force on Q1 and that is given by F21. Let B cap be the unit vector along F21. The equation is given by F21 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R square into B cap. See, observe these two expressions. F12 be the force exerted by Q1 on Q2 along this direction. F21 be the force exerted by Q2 on Q1 along this direction, where A cap and B cap are the unit vectors along F12 and F21 respectively. See, we know that these two vectors are acting in the opposite direction. So according to Newton's third law of motion, A cap must be equal to minus B cap. So if we substitute the value of A cap in this expression, that is F12 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square, instead of taking this A cap, I have taken minus B cap. So here we have taken minus sign this side, then F12 is equal to minus of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R square into B cap. So this term is nothing but F21, hence F12 is equal to minus F21. So hence the vector form of Coulomb's law. Okay. Next, come to this constant, that is relative permittivity or dielectric constant. To explain this, let us consider 2 point charges Q1 and Q2 which are separated by distance r in free space. Then the Coulomb's force between these two charges is given by the equation Fa is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. So we have taken as Fa because this force is in air or vacuum, that is free space. And assume that these two charges are placed in any other medium other than air or vacuum in the same distance, then the equation is given by Fm is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 by R square. So this is for free space and this is for any other medium. If we take the ratio of these two expressions, that is Fa divided by Fm is equal to the ratio of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square to the 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 by R square. So here Q1 Q2 by R square, Q1 Q2 by R square get cancelled and 4 pi get cancelled. The remaining will be 1 by epsilon naught divided by 1 by epsilon. If we rearrange that one, we'll get epsilon divided by epsilon naught, and that ratio is a constant, and that constant is called dielectric constant or relative permittivity. Permittivity is defined as the ratio of force between any two stationary point charges separated by a certain distance in air or vacuum to the force between same 2 point charges separated by a same distance in a given medium. Once again I'll repeat. The dielectric constant or relative permittivity is defined as the ratio of force between any two stationary point charges separated by a certain distance in air or vacuum to the force between same two charges separated by a same distance in a given medium. Next concept is the force between the multiple charges. So this is based on the superposition principle that we have studied in the first PUC waves chapter. See, according to the superposition principle, the net force acting on a charged particle due to number of charges is the vector sum of the force due to individual charges. To explain this concept, let us consider a system of charges. Observe this one. We have taken number of charges. Let Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 and so on Qn be the n number of charges which are located at a distance of R1, R2, R3, R4 and so on Rn. So these are called the position vectors. Let the distance between Q1 and Q2 will be R12, Q3, Q1 will be R13 and Q4, Q1 will be R14 and so on. Qn, Q1 will be R1n. So different charges are located at different positions. Then we know the concept of Coulomb's law it is the force between 2 point charges. So let us take the charges Q1 and Q2. The force between those two is given by the equation. I'll take F1 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R12 into R12 cap. Observe this one. F1 be the force between the charges Q1 and Q2 which are separated by a distance of R12. Hence the equation is given by F1 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R12 into R12 cap. R12 cap is the unit vector along F1. Similarly, the force between these two charges Q3 and Q1, I'll take it that as this as F12, this is F13 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q3 divided by R13 into R13 square into R13 cap. Similarly, the force between Q4 and Q1 is given by F14 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q4 divided by R14 square into R14 cap and so on. So if I take n number of charges, for the nth charge, that means Qn and Q1, the force between these two charges will be, we'll take it as F1n is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Qn divided by R1n square into R1n cap. So these are the different forces between the different charges. Then according to superposition principle, the net force acting on the charge Q1 due to the number of charges is the vector sum of all the forces due to different charges. Therefore, the net force is given by the vector sum of F12, F13, F14 and so on up to F1n. This is the superposition principle. If we substitute all the values of F12, F13, F14 and Fn1n, then the expression will be Fnet is equal to, I'll take 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught as a common factor in all the equations, Q1 as a common factor, and the remaining will be Q2 divided by R12 square into R12 cap plus Q3 divided by R13 square into R13 cap and so on up to Qn divided by R1n square into R1n cap. So in this expression, we can take the summate of all those things, that is Fnet is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught summation of Q1 Qi divided by R1i square into R1i cap, where I varies from 2 to n. So this is the net force acting on the charge Q1 due to different charges. So according to the superposition principle, again I'll repeat that one, the net force acting on a charge Q1 is the vector sum of the net forces due to different charges. Okay students, let us recap what we have studied in this session. See, in the beginning, we have studied about the Coulomb's law. Once again, repeat the statement of Coulomb's law. This law states that the force of attraction or repulsion between any two stationary point charges is directly proportional to product of their magnitude of charges and is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. So, according to that, F is proportional to Q1, Q2, F is proportional to 1 by R square. If we combine those things, F is proportional to Q1, Q2 by R square. And K is the proportionality constant, which depends on the nature of the medium and system of units used. For free space in SI system, the value of K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Hence, F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1, Q2 by R square. For any other medium, the force is given by F equals 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1, Q2 by R square. Here, epsilon naught indicates the permittivity of free space, epsilon the absolute permittivity, and epsilon R is called the dielectric constant. Based on that Coulomb's equation, we can define the SI unit of charge or define 1 Coulomb. From that expression, F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 by R square. If we take Q1 and Q2 as 1 Coulomb, R equals 1 meter in free space, then the force becomes 9 into 10 to the power of 9 Newton. Hence, we can define like this: 1 Coulomb is that charge which, when placed from an identical charge at a distance of 1 meter in free space, experiences a repulsive force of 9 into 10 to the power of 9 Newton. So next is direction of the force. So in this concept, like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other, so that we can define the direction of the force by seeing this diagram. Next, the limitations of Coulomb's law. In this concept, Coulomb's law is holds good only for the stationary point charges, and it cannot be applied for moving charges. Second one, Coulomb's law is not a universal law, as it depends on the intervening medium.